Hello, this is a video about using autofocus with a macro lens on a digital SLR. What we have here, we're looking at the LCD of my Canon 70D, on which I've mounted a 105mm macro lens, a Sigma DG-HSM macro lens, and I've got a flash unit on it to provide some light for taking the photos. I've also illuminating the scene in the same way that I did for the previous video, which had the 70D using a close-up lens on a telephoto zoom and also a Panasonic G5 using close-up lenses on a telephoto zoom. So the illumination is the same, the target is the same, and let's see how we get on. Now, one of the nice things about autofocusing with a macro lens is that it doesn't matter so much what distance you are from the subject. You mustn't be too close, otherwise you won't get focus. But as long as you're not using extension tubes, which I'm not at the moment, you can focus all the way from the closest in you can get right out to infinity. And in the previous video, it was obvious that I had to be very careful about the distance that I was from the subject in order to get things in focus. And the nice thing about macro lenses is that as long as you're far enough away, they'll focus. The other thing that you have to be careful of is that these lenses have focus limiters, which means that they'll only focus close up, or they'll only focus from further out, which means that when you're taking landscapes, it's not trying to search around trying to focus just a few inches away, and vice versa, and that can make the focusing quicker. To avoid any confusion, I've turned off the focus limiter on this lens, which will make focusing a bit slower, but it will make sure that we don't run into problems that I'm moving the camera too far away from the subject. So we can see now, I've got the lens set up so that it's currently focusing about as close as it can, and you can see that the subject is about 22mm across. That's quite a bit wider than we were using, well, it's where we started off roughly, I suppose, with the previous video. And in the first set we took it down to, I don't know, 11 or 12mm, something like that. So we'll start off with this, and what I'll do, because it doesn't matter what the distance is, I'm going to just pull the camera away, and now I'm going to focus. And the problem is, as you may be able to see, the focus hasn't taken, it hasn't focused. If I press the shutter button now, well, it won't do anything because it's not in focus. Now it says it is in focus, although I can see, I don't know if you can see on the screen, but it certainly doesn't look in focus. And if I take a picture, what I've got there isn't critical focus. It's fuzzy. I can post these images online for people to have a look at. And I've been playing with this, and I've been encountering this quite a lot, which is how I knew this was probably going to happen. And it does seem rather unreliable. If I try again now, it may well focus, I don't know. Oh no, it won't, okay. But I got the green box, it's telling me that it's okay, but it's just not focusing. Take it again, and again, it's a very fuzzy sort of out of focus image. Let me try lifting it up and having a go at the background. Maybe it'll focus on this. Oh, there it goes. Now, that time, I think it's done it. I think that's critical focus, that's fine. I'll go back to the ruler, and now it's doing the ruler. I can't tell. I think that's probably, I'm not sure that's completely sharp, but I think that's probably okay. So if I turn this back to focusing as near as possible, and I move the camera towards the subject, it's okay. So and if I move it away, we can be sure that I'm not too close to the subject, which is what I did before, and I get the same result. And I've been getting some other results when I can't reproduce the other ones. I mean, that looks okay. Oh, there we go, there's another one. Now, this might be because we're too close. I don't think so. But I'll take a picture here, and that's very fuzzy. But what I'll do is, without moving the camera, I'll use the focus wheel, and there we are actually in focus. So we're not too far away, because if I carry on, we can see that it goes out of focus in the other direction. We're quite close to the edge, but you know, that's with it as close as possible. So I can move the camera now towards the subject, and it actually goes into focus. And I've been getting a lot of this. There we go. It hunted and stopped without focusing. It's just not focusing now, and perhaps it will this time. There we go. Now it's focused. As to exactly the circumstances in which it will, there we go. It won't. So this is really quite different from what we saw before, when we had this camera with the close-up lens and the Panasonic camera with the close-up lens, both dealing with a subject, a scene, which was about half the size of this one, and I was going backwards and forwards between the ruler and the background and so on. Oh, there we go, it seems to like the background. Let's try another experiment. Maybe this will work. If I go to the closest one, so I know, okay, that's it, it's as close as it'll go. What I'm going to do now is move the camera back, and I'll point it, instead of the ruler, which seems to be giving it some trouble, I'll point up here, and oh, it likes that. So what it doesn't like about the ruler, I don't know. Now that is with contrast detect focusing. What I'll try now, and I'll have to sort of describe what's going on because you won't be able to see any of it, is I'll try using phase detect focusing and see what happens. So the screen will go blank. I'm now going to have to kneel down, and this is all quite interesting. So I'm going to change the focus as before so that it's as close as possible, move the camera in so that I can see that it's sharp, so I know I'm at a reasonable distance. I'm now going to move the camera back, and the phase detect won't engage. It's not doing... Ah, there it goes. And now it says that it's got focus, but in fact I'm looking at a almost completely white screen. So what's going on there? Well, we can see one that you can see the focus point there that it's focused on, but the thing is completely out of focus. So phase detect. Now this time it's going to be okay. I'll move away again. Now it's hunting, and after a bit of hunting, it got it okay. And so it's actually doing a bit better, but I can't predict what's happening. Let me just try what I did to begin with. So I'll go in as close as possible, and there we go, it's okay now. So I'll pull back, and there's that I think it's probably it now. That time it's okay. It's very on and off. What I'm going to try now we're dealing with a subject width that the other cameras found very easy indeed. I mean, they were, as I say, about 11 or 12 millimeters. I don't remember exactly. Before we went on down to dealing with right down to 4.5 millimeters. Now I can't get this set up down to 4.5 millimeters, but what I can do is I'm going to turn it off, and I'm going to put a set of extension tubes on. And, can you see them there? It's can't quite see them all. There's 3 of them anyway. And so I'll take the lens off and hope the camera doesn't tip over. Put the extension tubes onto the lens and put the lens back in the camera. Now this will get us closer into the subject. I'll use live view again so that we can see what's going on. Oh, can you see the screen? Yes. Now I'm going to do what I did before. Oh, that's me pressing the wrong button. Focus in as close as possible. I'm pressing the menu button by accident now. Right, I'm focused in as close as possible, and I'll move the camera in. Right, so we know that's we don't want to be any closer than that. So I'll pull the camera back, and again, I've got a green light. It says it's in focus, but it doesn't look in focus from what I'm looking at. And there we are. We've got another rather fuzzy image. I don't know if you can see that you'll be able to see that on the video, but I can post these images up to show you what was happening. Now, what I can try is, it may be, of course, that I'm just too far away. Since I put the extension tubes on, I can't focus out to infinity. So it's possible that I'm asking it to do something that is just impossible. So what I'm going to do is to turn the focus wheel, but no, there we are. Look, I've gone out of focus in one direction, into focus, and out of focus in the other direction, which means that it is possible to focus from here. It's just not doing it. I'll give it another go. Now this time, no, it's done the same sort of thing again. There we go. And that one's, well, it's better, but it's not in focus. And let's try and get closer in. So there we go. In we go. Now, if I try taking a photo with it quite close to being in focus, I think it'll probably be okay. There we go. So that's all right. In fact, that one's nicely in focus because I can see the texturing on the thing behind. Now, if I could get photos like this is probably better than I get out of the close-up lenses. I think that's probably going to be a really nice, a nice image in the sense that it's sharp and it's got lots of micro contrast and lots of detail. However, if I can't reliably focus, so there's another one, you see, just move it away a bit, and it's again not in focus. I don't really think this is usable with autofocus. Obviously, you can use manual focus, but my preference is, if I can, to use autofocus, and that is what I use most of the time. But unfortunately, this is the sort of behaviour that I've come across before with this sort of lens. I found it with the Canon 100L that I had for a short time. So really, I don't know what else I can do except to say, well, that's my experience with focusing with a macro lens on a dSLR with and without extension tubes. Gives me a lot of problem, and I don't think I'd really want to use it out in the field. So that's it for now. Bye bye.